If the Ukraine war or COVID and Brexit, for example, has taught us anything, local food produced, having your own food security, and food security is a luxury, and it is very important for every country to be able to have their own food. Turning on your farmers within your own country, that is not a good idea in my mind. We are being continuously interfered with politically, but for no real advantage back to the farm or producing food. My biggest fear...
Hello everybody, my name is Anthony Lee and I'm in England visiting a very famous British farmer.
Only in my own mind.
No, James Peck.
Yep.
You got a fantastic farm.
Oh, it's kind of you, thank you.
Yeah, we all are very impressed. And it took you about 15 years to generate this?
2003, so actually it's only 12 years.
12 years, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite quick, but the family have been here since 1950.
Right.
So we're celebrating our 75th year. We're having an open day on the 25th of June on the back of doing the YouTube of PX Farms and trying to show agriculture in a positive light and trying to show the humour and the dedication that is within farming to produce food effectively with our role in society to feed people. And that is what we get up each day to do. It isn't about the money, because if it's about the money, you'd be better to sell the farm, take the money, live off the interest for the capital is producing and have a much better standard of life. But I feel that each day that what we do is actually very important to society. And one of the two things I think that's most important to the British public or the public of the world is actually a doctor and a farmer. You need a farmer three times a day and probably a doctor once a year, if you're unlucky.
We spoke about Brexit this morning.
Yes.
You said for the British farmer, it's not got any better?
No, it's got worse.
It's got worse?
Yeah.
Yeah. We in Germany, or I say all over Europe, are still very bad off because of restrictions and rules coming from Brussels, from people who have no idea what they're talking about. That's my opinion.
Yes.
And I reckon that's probably everybody else's opinion here.
We are becoming suffocated in legislation of what we refer to as red tape. Effectively, the role of what we have to do as an industry is actually quite simple in the aspect of growing food. Nobody is environmentally wanting to damage their farm or destroy it because we are generational. And by definition, we are wanting the farms to be better. And the regulation which is coming is only doing one thing. It's constantly putting an arm behind our back, is restricting our ability to grow cheap, good quality food. The more red tape you put on, the greater the cost. And the difficulty we're having is that the costs aren't being pushed along. So farmers are finding it difficult to actually maintain a lifestyle and a living on the back of it. And effectively, I think we're getting to a stage that people are going to stop farming. That is a risk to people because then they won't have the cheap food policy that they've enjoyed since World War II.
We in Germany, we have 4 big, I'd say, supermarket stores like Aldi, Lidl, and 2 other ones. They control around about 90% of the market.
Yes.
They earn a lot of money with our products.
Yes.
So you could, if they would just give a bit of a share, we would all be happy. Is that the same in the UK?
I think that if you have a loaf of bread that is £1.50 and the farmer's getting 2.5 to 3 to 4 pence in the pound, you have to ask the question, where is all the rest of the money going? Because actually it's not being delivered to the primary producer. And in reality, actually, to make a big difference to the farm, just to put it into perspective, you are talking about a farm going from 4 pence a loaf to 6p, and it's a game changer of a return back into the farm to make a good profit. And we need profit. Profit's not an ugly word. Everybody needs profit to reinvest in the farm, to look after the people who work for us, and the subsidiary companies that we work with, and that might be the tyre fitters, that could be the tractor manufacturers, and so on. We need them to be able to make a profit, to reinvest, to then bring back mechanisation into farming, because farming is by default mechanising, because as population changes and the aspirations for people to work on farms, you need mechanisation to take over some of that work.
Maybe one question which many farmers in Europe never heard of, inheritance tax.
Yes.
Could you just explain to me what the new government is trying to do?
So we've had a change in government which has gone to Labour. And we've been in 14 years with the Conservatives. Now, typically, to put it into perspective, a farmer would support a Conservative government, probably 90+%, and a small minority might be interested in Labour. Now, typically, what has happened is Labour have come in, and this seems to be more like a class war, where they are making decisions which is to hurt anybody that they perceive might be a supporter of an opposite party. Now, what they've done is they brought an inheritance tax. Now, what that means is inheritance tax is 40%, but they said for farmers, they'll make it 20%. But the difficulty is that if annually you only make a 2% return on the capital employed, right, you cannot pay back a 20% if farmers die. Now, the average age of a farmer is 67. So inevitably, you are looking at effectively farms changing hands for inheritance tax. But the question is who's going to buy the farms and who's going to farm the land? Right. Because there are now pressures onto land. And they said, oh, we'll give you 10 years to pay the money back. But if you're only making 2% a year, you can never raise the income to pay the tax back, which means by default you are selling capital to keep a smaller farm.
One more question, last one, promised, because we need solutions.
Yes.
From my point of view, anybody who says we want to protect the environment,
yes,
we want to protect the climate or whatever,
yes,
the solution has to be we need local farmers.
Yes.
We need low prices, we need guaranteed food.
Yes.
I mean, we all used it to eat 3 times a day. I mean, every 15 seconds, a child on this planet dies, starves, lack of food.
Yeah.
We mustn't forget that.
Yeah.
So
outside of Europe.
Outside of Europe, of course, because we are.
That is important.
That is really important. Yeah. And we have places like Russian crop, Ukrainian crop needs to go to Africa or other poor countries, not to us, because we can produce that on the highest level.
They may only be poor, interestingly, in terms of agriculture. They have got other things like diamonds and metals and things, haven't they, as a rule? But I think one of the issues we're all facing now is that we believe that we have a purpose, don't we, in life, and we're feeding people. And I think that the fact that those atrocities aren't happening here is something that we can be proud of in Europe. But if the Ukraine war or COVID and Brexit, for example, has taught us anything, local food produced, having your own food security, and food security is a luxury, and it is very important for every country to be able to have their own food. Turning on your farmers within your own country, that is not a good idea in my mind. We should be supported. Now, I not necessarily want to say that we should be supported in subsidies. I think we just got to be paid a fair price. And if somebody is putting a loaf of bread in their basket for £1.50 and we're only getting 4 pence of that, I think we've got to start asking the questions, what is happening in the middle? Why isn't the farmer being better rewarded?
I don't really need subsidization. I would just need politicians to let us do the work because we know how to do it, because we've been doing it for generations.
I agree.
And that's all.
Yeah, and we have the same problem. If you said to me, what is my biggest problem in farming? It isn't the next generation, because the next generation for me is stood there, who she's now interested in farming, Matilda is, which is, I'm a proud father for this. It isn't actually in having a workforce, because I have a fantastic workforce and we have a waiting list of people who want to come and work here. It's political. We are being continuously interfered with politically, but for no real advantage back to the farm or producing food. My biggest fear for society is that people who are keen on farming and wanting to produce crops lose the passion and go and do something else. And I think we're dangerously in a time where the older farmer retires or sells the farm, and the skills don't come in at the bottom because we've turned farming away from profit. Nobody aspires to go work in an industry that is struggling. People always aspire to go work in an industry that's doing well. We could do very well politically overnight. They just need to take away their agendas of blaming farming for the environment and climatic conditions, which actually I think we all know is a nonsense.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you very much, James. It's been a pleasure meeting you, honestly.
No, I am delighted to have met you as a group. It's wonderful.
Great. Follow James on his YouTube channel.
Wonderful.
I do, and all my German followers can follow you because they can use subtitles.
Yeah. And it's PX Farms.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Take care.
And this is the main agenda, especially to us farmers, because we have to cut down on CO2. And that's why this Green Deal, these 4 things I told you about, and especially the main reason what Eva just described, to tax our diesel. I only live about 150 kilometers away from Holland. In Holland, or in Belgium, or in France, they don't tax diesel at all. So it's an unfair thing for us in Europe to compare. We can't compete, obviously not. And anybody should know that we in Germany, our farmers, use 1 liter diesel so efficient, like nobody else can do it on this planet.
Yeah.
So obviously, if we don't produce the food, we will have to get it from somewhere else. The Green Deal from the European Union is a bad deal for the planet, because if we do these things that I told you a few minutes ago, we will have to, we need 8 million hectares somewhere else on the world to feed us, which will mean we have to use big ships to get the food to us, to Germany, which is bad for the environment because we will pollute the air with CO2, which will kill us, and we will take poor people food away. And anybody who says, especially from the Green Party, who says, well, it's a good idea to do the Green Deal, he should reflect himself and think, no, it can't be. You're doing the opposite by far. And people more and more realize this nonsense we're doing, and they're fed up of it because it's costing us money, it's costing us our economy.
Es ist doch bezeichnend, dass eine Berufsgruppe hierher kommt, die 48,5 Stunden im Durchschnitt arbeitet in diesem Land. Das ist doch abenteuerlich. Wir produzieren das wichtigste Gut auf diesem Planeten und wir müssen darum betteln, dass wir das weitermachen dürfen. Wir stehen hier, weil es um unseren blanken Arsch geht.
Die Politik hat noch nie Wohlstand erwirtschaftet. Der Wohlstand kommt von Leuten, die mit Passion sich den Arsch abarbeiten, die in der Lage sind, Leute zu motivieren, wenn viel zu tun ist, auch am Samstag zu arbeiten. Da kommt Wohlstand her. Doch nicht von einer schwachen Figur, die was weiß, Staatssekretär ist und in Berlin oder irgendwo in Brüssel an einem Schreibtisch sitzt. Der kann doch nichts.